City planning is so important to the proper functioning of a city, something we often take for granted. Sydney is a beautiful city with many different suburbs, some designed beautifully, others not so well. In this series, I'm seeking to review suburbs all across Sydney, figuring out just what's right and what's wrong about the ways in which they've been built. Today, we're going to be looking at Sydney's newest airport, the Western Sydney International Airport, analysing the ways in which it will be the best airport to meet Western Sydney's needs, and explain how the airport is truly the perfect manifestation of the build it and they will come theory. Western Sydney Airport is being built in Badgerys Creek, a suburb almost 40 kilometres from Sydney CBD. The airport began construction in 2018, and it's expected to open to passengers in 2026. Currently, and perhaps worryingly, Australia's biggest city is only serviced by one airport, Sydney Kingsford Smith Airport. Before the pandemic, the airport used to service over 40 million passengers yearly, making it the 38th busiest airport in the world in 2016. At the rate that Kingsford Smith Airport is going currently, in just 20 years, the airport will no longer be able to meet the aviation needs of Sydney, which is expected to double by 2040. Admittedly, this was probably calculated before COVID struck, but with recovery of the aviation industry expected by 2024, Kingsford Smith will be back on its path to hitting capacity in no time. That's not even to begin on the growth of Western Sydney, which is expected to have 3 million people living there by the 2030s, making it Australia's 4th biggest city in its own right. So there's clearly a precedent for a new airport. But here's the thing, you can't just build an airport, you have to build it well. Take Berlin's Brandenburg Airport for example. The airport commenced construction in 2006, and was meant to open in 2011. It didn't open until 2020. Yes, that's right, the airport took almost 3 times longer than planned to open. I won't go into the reasons it took so long to open in this video, but let's just say that the people who built it did not design it very well. Western Sydney Airport has to do what that airport couldn't, be a functional, well-designed airport and open on time. So why was this location chosen for the airport, all the way out at Badgerys Creek, so far away from anything? Well, let's look at the 2 main criteria for choosing where an airport should be built. Airports should be built far away enough from urban development that noise and other deleterious effects can be kept at acceptable levels, but close enough that people who live in urban centres can readily access the airport without problems. Let's not build an airport like San Diego, America, which is right next to the city centre. But let's not also build an airport like Ciudad Real Airport, Spain, which was meant to serve Madrid, despite being a whopping 200 kilometres from the city centre. Western Sydney Airport is perfectly located in this regard, 60 kilometres from Sydney by road. It is far away enough from nearby city centres, such as Wallacia, Cecil Hills and Luddenham, and even then those city centres are quite small. But perhaps that's the beauty of this airport. I've driven out to the Western Sydney Airport site multiple times, and I can tell you this right now, there is almost nothing out there. The area is quiet, the land is barren. Even one of the main roads to the site from the rest of Sydney, Elizabeth Drive, is only a 2-lane undivided road. The airport is not being built in an area that specifically needs it. It's being built away from the area that specifically needs it. That is, the more built-up areas of Western Sydney. This includes areas like Blacktown, Liverpool and Penrith. So how can we be expected to get to the new airport site if it's not very close to city centres? I'll get to that. Now this is where things get really impressive. Western Sydney Airport opens in 2026, and from that point on, it will already be able to handle 5 million passengers a year, gradually growing to 10 million in a few more years after that.
If the airport had handled that much traffic in the year 2019, it would have been the 5th busiest airport in Australia, ahead of Adelaide Airport. That really does hammer home my point that Western Sydney is basically a city in itself, especially since it very well may have an airport busier than the capital of South Australia. And yet, by the year of 2063, the airport will grow even more and be able to handle a whopping 82 million passengers a year. To put that in perspective, that would make it the 7th busiest airport in the world based on 2019 data, ahead of even London's Heathrow Airport. Personally, I think that is crazy. Right now, the airport is being built for one runway, but by 2050, it is expected that a second runway will be needed and thus built.
Now to talk about the airport terminal. Honestly, looking at the videos that have been released of this terminal, I'd have to be lying if I didn't say it looks stunning. Greenery adorning the roofs and surroundings, skylights allowing plenty of beautiful natural lighting in, a high wooden roof giving a very natural feel. Indeed, this natural lighting actually ensures reduced energy usage by the airport, ensuring it maximizes on its sustainability. Airports like Singapore's Changi Airport set the bar high, maybe too high. But frankly, I think this design of Western Sydney Airport does not fall too far short at all. It's a beautiful way to welcome tourists to Australia, and a wonderful way to welcome Australians home. I don't have much doubt that the new airport will be very effective at bringing people to and from Western Sydney. Even better, unlike Sydney's Kingsford Smith Airport, it will have no curfew.
Indeed, as I mentioned earlier, the airport is far away from basically anything, so it will have very little noise impact on homes. Flight paths will be directed away from future developments, further minimizing noise impacts. Having no curfew will maximize airport operations and efficiency, something which simply isn't currently the case at Kingsford Smith.
So, all the pieces are in place for one of the best airports in Australia's history to be built. And thus, there remains one question. I keep hammering home the point that the new airport is being built far away from current urban centres. So how exactly is anyone going to get to this new airport?
First of all, by the new M12 motorway. The M12 Elizabeth motorway will be a toll-free motorway, linking the Northern Road at Luddenham with the airport and with the M7 West Link at Cecil Park. To be finished in time for the airport's opening in 2026, it will offer high-speed, grade-separated access to the airport from all around Sydney. On the note of roads, the nearby Northern Road has also been upgraded in preparation for the airport. Widened to a 4-lane divided road, it now looks more akin to a motorway than a semi-rural road. It's been future-proofed. Although currently it sits mostly empty, in less than a decade it will be at the forefront of one of Sydney's newest urban centres. The Sydney Metro Greater West is the second way that people will be able to get to the airport, with a planned opening again of about 2026. The Metro will start at St Mary's, which is currently a station on the main Western Railway line, before extending south with new stations at Orchard Hills, Luddenham, 2 new stations at the airport itself, and another station near Bringelly, which I'll get to in a moment. Indeed, the Metro may one day be extended south to Leppington, and north to Schofields and Tallawong, linking up with the existing Metro, creating only the second circumferential train line in Sydney, and significantly improving travel around our great city. Frankly, I think that this project is a beautiful example of forward thinking at its best. For starters, it will allow people travelling to and from the airport to readily access the airport without needing a car. While Sydney Airport does currently have 2 train stations, the similarly sized Melbourne Tullamarine Airport has no train link, making access quite difficult. At least Western Sydney Airport will not suffer this problem. The new Metro will also spur growth and development in the currently largely empty area. It's hard to fathom that there will be a metro station here in Luddenham, essentially the middle of nowhere right now.
This truly is a perfect example of the build it and they will come mentality. Build a metro and residents and development will come. Plenty of space exists for development, and easy access to a new airport, a motorway, and a metro link will ensure plenty move here.
Which brings me to my final point. Nearby to the new airport, a new city is being planned. It's called Bradfield, and it is planned to be a new centre of industry, entertainment, leisure, dining, parks, and living. I'll be the first to admit that details on the city are currently a little scant, and likely aimed more at grabbing attention than being of any true substance. Buzzwords like world-class and high-tech are thrown around a lot on its website. But it is filled with promise. A new city, with easy transport access, with a beautiful, sustainable and resident-friendly facade. A city with the future in mind.
Build it and they will come. Build the airport and people will come and move to Western Sydney. This truly is the thesis behind this new airport. The airport isn't just a way to get people to fly in and out of Sydney, it's also a way to push development in Sydney further west. Sydney is in the grips of a housing crisis, and while Western Sydney Airport will hardly solve the crisis, it certainly could help. It'll spur development out west, pushing people towards new employment and residential centres, while also ensuring they can still readily access the rest of the city. We don't need to just build up, we can build out, and that's exactly what we're doing. Infrastructure drives development. This is a concept that has been tried and tested globally. It's something one can see in Sydney itself, and we'll see it here. A new airport, a new metro line, a new motorway. These will all drive development of what one can one day hope will be a beautiful city.
We truly are witnessing history. Driving along Badgerys Creek Road today feels surreal, gazing from a mostly empty 4-lane road at an airport site that is currently quite empty, and yet in just a few short years will be the bustling gateway to Western Sydney. Right now, the area is still semi-rural, bordering on rural. But in just a few short years, it may very well be something completely different. It could very well be a blossoming city, easily accessible from the rest of the world. And I personally think that's something we can all be proud of.
If you liked this video, please do consider liking and subscribing. Thanks for watching.